Welcome, Veritas family. Thank you so much for joining us here at Give and Take. I am Sherry Davis, and I'm here today with Dr. Lisa Joyner. Joyner.
Hello.
Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
We are here chatting about some of our upcoming courses that will be starting in Module B. And your course, give us the course name and number for your course that we're highlighting here today.
Well, the course number is SPED 620, and it's assessment and intervention in special education.
Okay, so that sounds like a very niche group. Um,
Yes.
let's talk about what your course is about and what the students can walk away with. What's the meat of this class?
Okay. In this course, it's really a very hands-on how-to kind of course. There is content, of course. There's a couple books to read, but it's about assessment of students, specifically trying to identify weaknesses and strengths in students who are struggling in the classroom. And so it's kind of two-pronged in that the first thing is understanding what assessment is and why it's important.
Mm,
Because without a good assessment, then you don't know how to intervene and use good targeted interventions. So instead of using an elephant gun, to try to fix everything, this is for more targeted sort of interventions. So when I say that it's two-pronged, first of all, one of the first things that students do is learn how to understand the results of a full it's called an educational psychological assessment.
mm,
Okay.
okay,
Psychological, not like, it's not psychiatry, okay?
right.
But it's understanding what the results are of cognitive testing and achievement testing for a
Mm,
student so you can understand what IQs are, what they mean, how to compare those to their achievement for reading and writing and math.
mm,
And then it goes even deeper. There's lots of numbers, lots and lots of numbers in there. So they learn what those numbers mean, and
okay.
then even more, they learn so well what they mean that they can explain them to other
Okay.
teachers and to parents. Because when parents of a child who has a suspected disability and they get this testing, they
Mm,
get the results back. And generally, the psychologist who does the test goes over it very quickly.
okay.
Um, and the parents are kind of tend to be intimidated to ask questions.
Sure.
They don't want to appear like they don't know. Okay. But they don't. It's not their world. Okay. So it's important that educators do know. And then
Mm,
they can say, no worries, we'll get together and I'll go over this with you. And you able to explain to them what this means. And even more, now, what are we going to do about it? Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
So the other thing that they do is I have them to um, really get a good understanding of what those tests are so that there's several different options that psychologists will use for cognitive testing
Mhm,
and for achievement testing. And when I say achievement testing, I'm not talking about the kind of achievement testing that teachers are used to giving at the end of the year.
mhm,
Class-wide, this is one-on-one, real targeted achievement testing.
okay.
Cognitive testing is what is God-given ability.
Okay.
Okay. This is your ability to learn, take in
Mhm,
information, and express what you learned. Achievement is now what you know how to do and what levels you're at. Then comparisons are made. They should match, but many times there's a disparity there. And when there is a disparity, that indicates some form of a learning disability. So
interesting.
there's a wide variety of tests that they use. And so I have them to really study those tests and understand how to then identify the reliability and the validity. So we use a lot of big terms in there, okay,
Sure.
of all of those tests. So you see, all right, this is a good test to give. What makes it a good test?
Mm, mm-hmm,
Just
mm-hmm.
because it was made by a publisher that you're familiar with?
Right.
No.
Got it.
Instead, you dig in and you read, what does the research say? What does the data say? When they have tested this
Mhm,
assessment on hundreds and thousands of students,
right.
what do the results say? Is it reliable? And does it have validity? So they study that. The other thing that they do in this course that I have them do, and that is they learn how to give their own assessment. Now, a teacher can't give those assessments, the cognitive and the those achievement tests, but what a teacher can do in the classroom or just for any student, and that is to give a real thorough reading assessment. really thorough reading assessment to determine grade level of the reader. And then if there is a weakness, like if a child, if you do the assessment and you say, oh, they're 1.5 to 2 grade levels below their peers, then
Mm.
you take it further and you test them even more to target what are the specific weaknesses so I can target those.
Okay.
So they do a full, what we call a client report on a student. They do some observations of that student. They observe the student in the classroom. They do some assessments of their own one-on-one with the student, and then they do that reading assessment, and then they write up a big old report.
Mm. Hmm.
It's a lot of work, to be honest
Sure.
with you. It's quite a lot of work, but I have the feedback that I get from students um, who take the course,
Hmm.
love it.
Yeah,
They've said, wow, this was challenging.
sure.
Um, but I promise them, I always tell them, I promise you, you do one test review, and then after you do the first test review, the rest will come easily. Okay,
Yeah.
get it. And the feedback also has been, I feel so much more confident now to give a reading assessment and write a report on a student than
Hmm.
I ever felt before. And they also say, I now feel confident to explain the results of a full psychological report to the parents. And it's important because it makes you an expert on that. And
Yeah, and I feel
schools
like
should have an
that's
expert.
very, very key. Like you mentioned, the families are probably new, brand new. If they're just having their child tested, they're just on the
Scared.
very, very edge of learning about all of these things. And
Yes.
to have somebody who understands, who is from a Christian perspective and understands the value of life and every human
Right.
person. And so to be able to speak into that and calm their fears and walk them through, I'm sure that is invaluable to that
Yeah.
family. So I am thrilled that you guys take that very seriously in these special ed classes because it is such a needed thing. You mentioned a little bit about the assignments in the class. Tell us what they can expect. So you've already mentioned a couple of those things. Did we cover everything about
Pretty
the?
much. I mean, there's two books to read. The one text that they read on assessment intervention is in general talking about assessment, the different types of assessment, and how you use that to plan intervention. So that's very thorough. The other text is a reading assessment. It's called a reading inventory. Okay. And that text is actually what you use to give the assessments to students.
Okay.
And so that's a real good hands-on. So they get two parts to that text. They get the instructor part, which it tells you exactly how to give those assessments.
Oh,
And
nice.
then the second part of the book are the actual assessments.
Oh, okay,
Um,
nice.
and so and so the teachers can learn how to use this tool in the
Hmm.
classroom
Hmm.
and take it into their classroom and start giving those reading
Very
assessments.
practical. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's very good. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us why you love this course. Why personally do you enjoy teaching this course?
I took this course in my doctorate program, actually.
Okay.
And as I was taking well, of course, I've changed it some, but it was very similar to this. But as I was taking it, I thought, why wasn't this in my master's degree? You know,
Oh, yeah,
this
good
should
point.
have been in my master's degree.
Sure.
I should have learned how to do this.
Mm.
And, with having, I first got a master's in special education, and I felt a little intimidated by those
Yeah.
test
Yeah.
results when they would come in, and I was supposed to know.
Hmm.
I had to teach myself, and I did because when you see 100 or more of these,
Yeah.
you get a little comfortable with them after a while. But I realized in that course, I'm like, this is how it should be done. You should have direct instruction in these types of assessments.
Hmm.
And I had never before dug in on what those tests were. I was comfortable with, understanding the results of the WISC and the Woodcock Johnson and the Kaufman and the Wechsler. I was comfortable with them, but I had never dug in until that course into what made those good tests.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And so I feel like our students come out, or our student teachers, they come out of this course more prepared than I was when I came
More
out of mine.
enriched. Yeah, that's good. That's a really good reason. It's super helpful that you are the head of a program where you can say, "Yep, this is a course we're going to
We're
include."
doing this.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's good. Tell us, Who benefits from your course? If you were jumping into our program here at Veritas, who can take this course and what programs benefit?
Well, it's a required course for those who are pursuing a graduate degree in special education.
Mhm,
It can be an elective for anyone who is pursuing a graduate degree in Christian education.
mhm,
So it may be in administration or the curriculum and instruction. It can be an elective there, but it also can be an elective in the EDD program. As for those especially that are getting their that want to specialize in special
mhm.
education, then they would be able to take this course. But I would say that administrators even
Yeah,
this those in curriculum instruction, there should be at least one expert in your building that
right.
understands this and knows how to do this
Hmm.
because I believe every teacher, every single teacher in a Christian school should know how to give a reading assessment.
Mm,
You
it's
know,
good.
it's like going to the doctor and the doctor just says, well, welcome to my office. Here you go. Here's some Tums.
Hmm.
I understand you have a bellyache. Here's Tums. Like,
Hmm.
wait a minute. Should you do
Yeah,
some testing first to see if
right.
maybe it's appendicitis? Because
Something else going on. Yeah,
maybe there's
exactly.
something else going on that
Yeah.
I should know about. I got a bowel obstruction. Tums is not going to help. Okay.
Yeah.
And in education, it's the same, but sometimes we leave that out and we just think, well, we've got this fabulous curriculum. It'll work for everybody.
Yeah,
Will Tums work for everybody? I don't think so.
right.
And
Yeah.
so this allows you to have a more targeted approach. And so classroom instructors should know how to give an assessment, but at the least, administrators and general ed classroom instructors should understand what the numbers mean
It's good.
because 10 to 15% of the students that come to you, they've got some kind of a learning disability. And of those students, many of them, if they came from public school, then they've had this testing done if they have any kind of a learning disability. And you need to be able to look at their records and determine what that is. An
Yeah, I think
administrator,
that's good. I think to your point of having administrators be a part of this world, because sometimes I think special education is relegated to special education departments. And I think what I hear you saying
yeah,
is that everybody should have some level of knowledge
yeah,
in this field because it's so prevalent. And I think that's a really good point.
yeah. An administrator is the one that kind of filters through applications that come through from students
Hmm.
and they see those folders, accumulative folders, and so on. Well, many administrators are afraid. They see, oh, this child has an IEP. I'm sorry, we don't have a special education program.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like,
Mhm.
but wait,
Right.
okay.
Right.
If you know what you're looking at, then
Hmm.
you could look at those numbers, you could look at the test results and read the report and go, oh, yeah, this is, we can totally,
We could support in this way if
we
you could.
can support this child. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a
good.
little low in reading, maybe a
Sure.
little low in math.
Yeah.
Probably half the kids in that class are too.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
so it sort of takes the fear away.
it's good.
But it also, on the other hand, if you see that the learning issue or maybe even the behavioral issue is
Mhm.
more extreme than what your school is set up for, well, then you make that call. But at
Right.
least you make it based on an actual not research, but actual data,
The results. Yeah, exactly. And be able to
documentation,
interpret
right?
those. Yeah, that's really good. And then your school might be able to help more students than you think if you had somebody who was savvy to read those reports. That's really
You
good.
come out of the course not just knowing stuff, but you know how to do stuff.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
seriously, and I like those types of courses. I
Yeah,
like
real
the kind of courses
practical. Yep.
where I learn stuff,
Hmm.
but what do I know how to do
Right.
differently? You
Yep.
come out of this course sharper because
Good.
now you know how to do things that probably 95% of the other teachers, or maybe 100%, know how to do. You're going
Right.
to know how to do it. Somebody in your building needs to know how to do this.
Well, that is inspirational right there, if nothing else. And that'll get you boots on the ground. What can you do once you get through the course? Speaking of inspiration, tell us who inspired you to either teach in general or teach this course. Would you have somebody in mind that you can pinpoint?
To teach in general, no, I never meant to be a teacher. That was not for me. Absolutely not for me. And I remember my dad saying, Lisa, you have the gift of teaching. And I'm like, no, I
Yeah.
don't. Turns out he was right. Dad's
Yeah.
always right. You know how that
Right.
is. It was a verse for me. It was delight thyself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. And I used to think that meant, when I was young, immature, and I thought, oh, he's going to give me what I desire.
What I
That's not
want.
how that works.
That's right.
He
Yep.
plants desires in
Yep.
our heart.
Yep.
And many years ago, he planted a desire that hadn't been there before. He planted
Hmm.
the desire to
Hmm.
teach, and it came from nowhere. And I was like,
Hmm.
why do I suddenly think about and dream about teaching? Where in the world did that come from? But I
Yeah.
wanted to teach, and so I
Right.
did. And I only had I had an English and history undergrad at the time. I'd only had one education course, philosophy of Christian ed, that I took at Tennessee Temple years ago. So I
Hmm.
had to kind of teach myself. I was no good for the first 3 years, no good at all. Okay. I'm serious. I had to really read, study, watch other teachers. After
Hmm.
3 years, I finally got my sea legs and I felt like, okay, I think I know what I'm doing. But thank God every year, you improve. But then it was after about 10 years of gen ed teaching, and I love teaching in the general classroom. I love teaching history and English so much. Middle school was my sweet spot. High
Wow.
school, loved it. Oh, I love middle school. They're
Wow. That you are
so
you are a
crazy.
dying breed. I think you're like a small percentage of the population
So much
who's do that.
crazy, so many tears, so much drama
Yes.
in middle
Yes.
school, and I was
And that
there
was
for
from
all of
you.
it. All of it. I'm
Yeah.
there for it. Okay. It was fantastic. I loved it. But I started to really develop a burden for kids who struggled.
Yeah.
And I had them, and I was teaching with my hair on fire, thinking
Mm-hmm.
if I try this and I try this, and
Yes.
they still struggled, and I didn't understand why. So I started doing all kinds of things. And finally I realized I need to get more training. I need to know
Training.
what to
Yep.
do. So
Yep.
went back to school and I got a degree in special education because again, the Lord planted another desire in my heart, and
Right.
it was to work with these kids who were
Yeah.
struggling.
Yeah.
So anyway,
That's good. Well,
that's
listen, if you,
from.
I appreciate your coming. And if you are watching this and you are sitting on the fence saying, I'm not a teacher, or I can't teach, or maybe I have a small burden for the special needs students that I am in that's in my sphere of influence. Um, Message us
Yeah,
because we love folks like you. If you are sitting at home and you're like, I just don't know if I can do this, message us because Dr. Joyner has a special place in her heart for those people teaching teachers about special needs. And this
yeah,
particular class, I mean, even just this video here tells us that you love special education, you have a special heart for it, you have a love for those people who are a little bit reticent to jump in because that's where you were.
right,
The idea like, can I do this? But I see
right,
a need and I have a heart for it, so somebody's
right,
got to do it. If I don't do it,
right.
somebody, who's going to do it?
That's
So
exactly right.
so
If not
jump
you, then
in.
who?
That's right. So jump in. Let us know if you have any questions. And I also meant to mention this at the beginning. If you're watching this, please tell us where you're watching from. We would love to know where you are, and let us know what ministry you're a part of. We'd love to reach out to you guys and see if you have. Maybe you don't have a special needs ministry as a part of the school that you're working with, but it may be the Lord's placing a little bit of the desire of your heart is maybe towards starting something like that. We've got programs for that. We'll walk you through that if that's something that you guys would want to start there at your ministry. Again, message us. Lisa, thank you so much for joining today. It has been a pleasure to chat. You have definitely shared your heart, and we would love to be able to minister to those who want to jump back in. And of course, you can use this class as a required course, depending on your program, or you can jump into it as an elective. Again, if we have those administrators out there who were thinking, boy, I don't know that I have the time to jump into a full program, but this class seems like something I should probably know. Message us. We'll get you the information, all the ins and outs, and we'll get you all taken care of. All
All
right,
right.
Lisa, thanks so much for joining us today. And thank
You
you
do
all
it.
for joining us here at Give and Take. We'll see you next time.
Okay.